Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar is in collaboration with Microsoft and Reddington. We will be discussing how to automate business processes with Microsoft Power Platform. Before I hand it out to Chris, I would like to brief you on our speakers. Today's speakers are Christophe Khalaf and Julien Anid. Christophe is our CEO and Julien Anid is our Power Platform consultant. Please make sure to type in your questions in the chat window so we can answer you directly. We would appreciate it if you can keep yourselves on mute. At the end of the webinar, the recording will be shared with you, but to make sure that you receive it, please make sure to share your emails in the chat bot and we'll send it to you. Okay, thank you.
Yes, hi everyone, and thank you again for joining this webinar. This is our third webinar this year. We started with the 2 webinars on Azure last week, and we are continuing with the series. This month we will have 4 webinars. This is the first webinar in Feb related to Power Platform. I will first start by giving a quick introduction about our company and then giving a brief about the agenda and today's topics. So for the people that doesn't know us, I can see that there are new people and current customers for us joining this webinar. So we are a Microsoft Gold partner. We've been awarded 4 years in a row Cloud Partner of the Year for Microsoft in Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. And this is the only service that we provide. So we are only dedicated for Microsoft Cloud Services, SharePoint, Powerapps, Azure, and we can help you add value on whatever you currently have in your environment. So I guess most of you already have Microsoft 365, and we are here to show you and to highlight to which extent you can take those services and what kind of solutions you can benefit from and you can develop on top of what you have. So the purpose today of the webinar is to show you how Powerapps, Power Automate, and Microsoft Teams today works together. What are the new updates? What are the features that are in Powerapps and SharePoint? The current features and the new features. We'll also have another webinar later that will tackle advanced things on Powerapps and SharePoint. But today, the idea is to give you an overview and also to give you some updates and some new things that are there. So first, we will go over the agenda. So today we will be discussing about everything related to Power Platform, the benefits of it, the integration with several connectors. So we will see how we can integrate Power Platform with external sources like SQL. It can be any source, SAP, Oracle, Excel, any source that you usually use. And you can also use the internal source, which is SharePoint. This will be discussed more during the call. We will also see the digital transformation, how today modern businesses are transforming their business processes and automating their business processes using Power Platform and SharePoint. We will also show you some demos, some small applications that we are using for demos to show how the application, how the digital transformation works, how the Power Automate works, and the workflows. We will show also the adaptive cards. Adaptive cards is a new technology used in Teams. So you will also see how we can embed applications, we can communicate with Microsoft Teams. From within Microsoft Teams now we are able to fill forms, we are able to accept workflows. So this will also be tackled. In the live demo, we will show you first a SharePoint site demonstration, how you can create your main internal site. This is what SharePoint was before. So the traditional SharePoint was used basically for document management and intranet sites. We will see how much they evaluated today. Where does it stand today? So there's a big difference between the traditional SharePoint and the power of SharePoint and Powerapps together. There's the automation of workflows on Power Platform. We will show you the back end and front end, how the workflows works, how you can initiate workflows and troubleshoot workflows. We will also see Microsoft Lists, which is also a new service introduced by Microsoft. Where you have predefined templates, predefined applications there. You can start using them and then also develop on top of them. We'll have the Power Apps, the Microsoft Data Reverse for Teams. This is also a very recent technology used between Microsoft and Teams. We have the integration, as mentioned, with third-party, with SQL, with the Azure Blob Storage, how you can also integrate Power Apps with Azure Blob Storage. We will also discuss and tackle a bit the licensing and the billing. How does it work? Because this is also a confusing part for many people on how usually Power Apps is built, external access, how you can provide external access. So all of this will be tackled by Julien. So now I'm going to hand it over to Julien, our Power Platform consultant, who will walk you through the presentation, and then after that, jump to the live demo. Please, if you also have any questions, feel free to post them on the chat box, or at the end of the session, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions that you need. Julien, it's
Thank you, Christophe.
If you can.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Julien Anid. I am a Power Platform consultant at Exquitech. So today I will be doing a demonstration on the value-added services on the top of the Power Platform. And the solutions we are offering are based on these platforms. So in today's presentation, you will see the integration of how these technologies work together, making it easy to measure your business act on the results and automate your workflows. Besides, we will see several examples that we created on the top of these technologies. And of course, it's not limited to what we are going to show you in today's presentation. So whatever you are thinking about, any form, any business process, you are still doing manually, we can automate your business process. So I'm sure that you will be gaining further knowledge on the possibilities that we can implement using the Power Platform that I have mentioned. So before we dive in, let's talk briefly about what is Power Platforms and what are its components, so you will be able to understand the process of the demonstration. So what is Power Platform? It is a system actually that can help any organizations to drive business by enabling them to drive intelligent business processes via applications using Power Apps and automate those processes using Power Automate. And also delivers insights for analyzing data using Power BI and creating chatbots using Power Virtual Agents. And we see all of these platforms are integrated with the common data service, which is the built-in data platform that we'll introduce now. And the AI builder, leveraging the AI builder, if you have, for example, a text recognition, a receipt processor, business cards, some custom data connectors, and any APIs that we can communicate with and integrated with Power Apps or Power Automate or even the chatbot or Power BI. So starting by giving an overview about these products. So let's start by what is Power Apps. So Power Apps, it's all about enabling people to solve their business problems. So using Power Apps, we can quickly build custom business application that connect us to, it can be on our data stored or in various data sources like SharePoint, like Excel, like Dynamics 365, like SQL, Oracle, so on. In addition, the applications that are built using Power Apps provide workflow capabilities to transform the manual business process to automated business processes. And also Power Apps can run on laptops, can run on tablets, phones, Android, iOS. So that's about Power Apps. Now about Power Automate. So Power Automate is a service that helps us to create automated workflows between our favorite applications. Like it can be a third-party application, it can be Power Apps, SharePoint, so on. And it's a service like it collects us some data, push notification, decision for approvals, and many more. And also it helps us to automate advanced scenarios with multiple steps and conditions and many more. And it's synchronized between first and third party systems. Now, that's about Power Automate. We'll see how we can benefit from this product. Jumping to what is SharePoint. So SharePoint, it is a cloud-based service It is hosted by Microsoft for businesses of all the sizes. In SharePoint, we can create several sites, we can have lists, we can have document libraries. So all of these, we can share it with our colleagues, partners, and customers. So that's about SharePoint. Now, jumping to what is Microsoft Dataverse, which is the brand new feature introduced by Microsoft. So Microsoft Dataverse, it's for teams. It delivers us to build any of these applications, of the Power Platform applications, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent. So it provides relational data storage, rich data types. What I mean by data types, text, images, drop downs, so on. And it's one-click solution deployment. So Data First for Teams enable us to build and deploy apps within Microsoft Teams. And we can see to which it extends. So all the Office 65 application, model-driven application, which is a type of Power Apps. So in Power Apps, we have 3 different types that we will discuss about them later in the demonstration. Power Apps portals, Power Query, business rules, business processes, data flows, Dataverse, and connectors. So it is integrated with many connectors. So now there is around 500 connectors. Monthly, Power Automate, they are creating more connectors, providing us more connectors to do the integration with any platform that we are going to think about. Now, its benefits, actually, we can build bots, we can build Power Apps. So it is responsive also on mobile application if the application is created on the Dataverse, and even if it is created also separately. So it is included the most existing Teams licenses. So the Microsoft Dataverse, it is included in the Teams licenses. So no additional premium license for these products to build applications. And it support for up to 500 teams, 500 groups, and also the capability to use the common data service, which is the Dataverse now, it's formerly known, to store all our data there. And also we can store it in SharePoint, but we can benefit also from the Dataverse. And also we will discuss about the security, how we can share the app for external guest users within the organization, within the team. So we will see what security model it will respect to share any of these applications. Now, jumping to the Microsoft Lists, which is also a brand new feature introduced by Microsoft recently. Actually, it's very similar to SharePoint List. It helps us to track information, organize the work. Lists are simple, smart, and flexible. So we can, on the top of matter, most of our team, to tackle the progress, and the backend actually of Microsoft List is SharePoint. So it's very similar to SharePoint list formatting and list and columns formatting. So the next slide will be on the benefits of the Power Platform. So actually, Power Apps encourage cross-organization collaboration between business, IT, pro development, and ensuring the governance, compliance, and security. So actually, the native application, like either on iOS or Android, nowadays it costs so much. So in Power Apps, using Power Apps, we can reduce the cost, build by easily automating the process and enhancing repetitive tasks and time-consuming, and reduce errors across the organization. So that's the benefits of the Power Platform. Additionally, running multiple applications consistently with the same custom data source that we wish to use it. So the next slide will be based on the cloud and on-premises connectivity. So as I mentioned, these are connectors that we can leverage and extend in any of our applications. Again, there are over 450 connectors that are increasing each month to use them by connecting to APIs, to any kind of data source. And also we can, if your connector does not exist inside the solution, so we can build custom connectors, or we can connect directly if your data is on-prem. So we can also configure and get your data and make application on the top of that. Power Apps enable the digital transformation. So as you can see again, the Power Apps again runs on the mobile, on the web, on tablets. So the back end of the app to automate the process will be Power Automate, where we will build several flows. And these flows are connected to any kind of these data source that is showing inside the slide. It can be SQL, Dynamics again, Twitter, Salesforce, SharePoint, so on. And finally, introducing the adaptive cards before that. So yes, it's a powerful tool for productivity. So the Power Platform, on the top of that, we can develop applications, any kind of form. It will make your business more efficient. We can integrate and share the application across the organization within Microsoft Teams also, and collect and manage and distribute data using SharePoint, Microsoft Forms, and Excel, and so on. Now, the last thing about our slides before jumping to the demo is the adaptive cards. So adaptive cards, it's also a brand new feature introduced last year by Microsoft. Those adaptive cards are an open card to exchange format. So it enables the developers to exchange the user interface, content in a common and consistent way. And also the adaptive cards can be used across multiple applications. Like it can be sent through Outlook, through Microsoft Teams, Android, iOS, so on. So later in the demo, we will see how they work with Teams and Outlook. So I will start by sharing my screen to start with the first topic, which is the SharePoint site demonstration. So starting by SharePoint. So this is the SharePoint site where it contains all my sites within my organization. I can create a site, and the site can be either a team site or a communication site. So now actually there is actually not that big difference between the team site and the communication sites. It's very similar. We can share documents, have conversation, engage with topics, and also with customers that are external users. So they will keep informed and engaged on the topics and the events that is happening within the organization. So starting by an example on a demonstration site. So this is an intranet site, and in this site we are on the news and the announcement page. So within this site we can have many built-in, we can benefit from the built-in tools and customize those web parts to add everything within our organization. So I can have the image gallery, for example, have some images, solutions section separated into tiles. So those images can be redirect the user to any specific topic to show more description, more information about the solution. The latest news section, the latest news, everything is posted within the site. It can be either a list or a new page or an event that's happening. So everything will be displayed in this section. And the benefit also of this section, like imagine if I have many sites in SharePoint. Saying that this is the parent site and I have another site, which is the child site. So I want everything in the child site posted as a news to be rendered and posted inside the parent. So this can be also integrated directly within the site, within the parent site. Now also I can link my Twitter account, the Twitter account for the company, for example. We can have an event web part where I can create an event. So it's very simple. If I go to the event, there is a form. So saying that Power Platform demo. So I can also add an image for my event from many sources, online, OneDrive, from my local desktop, for example. So I can add an image, the location, the link of the meeting. It can be on Teams, so I can provide the link of the Teams meeting. The category, it's the type of the event. And finally, description that goes here, for example. And the users that are going, for example, to present this event, who are the presenters, So I can assign who are the users. So this is connected, of course, to my directory of 65 users. So now I can see, for example, I can pick the user here, who are the presenters, saying, for example, my colleague Basili, and so on and so forth. And after that, I can save this event, and I can send it as an email to, it can be for a certain person, for specific people, or for a group. And this group actually can be on Azure Active Directory. So it can be for, let's say this event is related to the finance department. So if I have a finance department group, I can send it directly to all this department and get a push notification within their emails. So that's about the event web part. So we see here the weather, for example. We can have the weather of and the time. We can have more description about the company with the images. Our services, those are quick links. So if you want to redirect the user maybe to your ERP system from SharePoint, this is also possible. So we can directly redirect the user to a certain topic. And we can embed images showing our data analytics and workflows. So within this image, we can see we are using Power BI for our data analytics, our infrastructure logs and data analytics, and the business intelligence software using the Power BI. And we have the Emotap survey results. Just a quick introduction about Emotap. It's our healthcare medical application developed on the top of Microsoft Azure. So you can have for your product a survey created on Microsoft Forms. So in Microsoft Forms, we can create polls, quizzes, surveys, and we can share it with external users also. And all the data can be collected. It will be stored within the Excel, but you may want to store it in SharePoint or whatever is the data source, and automate the process of the survey. Whenever a response is submitted, maybe you want to send an email to a marketing team or whatever. So to collect the customer satisfaction. So that's the purpose of the Microsoft Forms. So we can see the total responses, for example, in a pie chart, and so on. Now for the location, also within SharePoint, we can have location. This is one of our branches in Dubai. So we can have a Bing map showing our locations. Now the activity, it's related to the user that is, of course, currently visiting the site, checking a page, checking a document, maybe. So all the activities of the user will be stored also within the site. For example, if you have any recent documents directly, he can see what he visited. And also for auditing and log for the SharePoint administrators. So this is also can be managed if you want to see who the user who checked this particular news, who visited this page, who deleted, so on. So this is also feasible for a reporting tool. Also within the page, so again, this is a page, we can embed lists. So for example, this is, of course, a birthday list showing the employees, their birth date. So I can chat in Teams with the user. So let's say I want to chat with Vince. So if I click on chat in Teams from SharePoint, so this is a deep linking that will take me to Teams, and I will open it in Microsoft Teams to start a conversation with the, of course, the record that I have selected, and I have selected Vince. So we see directly it take me to Vince to start a new conversation. Now, and also the email, it will launch the email application to send an email for the user. Now, this birthday web part, actually, this is an add-on tool, a web part. It does not exist in SharePoint. So also we can have third-party integration with some web parts that don't exist. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. So also we can use them within the site. And we have the stream videos library. So everything, any video that is stored inside your stream library, it can be a tutorial, a guidance for the user how to use an app maybe. So also it can be embedded within the site. And finally, our contact details and the comments. So you can input comments, similar how on Facebook or Instagram, you can like also and so on and mention someone. So jumping to another page, which is our team section. In this page, I can manage the profiles of the employees. Saying that, let's say, this is an example. I'm clicking on Christoph, our CEO. So I can see all his contact information. I can see in an organizational chart, a tree representation, the peoples who directly reports to Christoph. And the same chart actually can be displayed on Teams, on Delve, and so on. And of course, this is based on the user's permission and linked. It's integrated with Azure Active Directory to build this chart. And also, we can, within a page, since also this is a page, we can embed Power BI reports within a SharePoint site. So this is an example of a crisis communication report showing the people that are working from home or out of the office, for example. We see how this number is changing based on what I'm going to filter. So we can have any kind of report, can be for the finance maybe or for the sales within the site, and a Power Apps application. And this app, we will see it later on the demonstration. So also we can have a Canvas application embedded within SharePoint. Now, starting by showing you SharePoint list. So we covered the pages. Now we will jump to list. After that, we will jump to document libraries. So a SharePoint list, it can have columns, rows, similar how Excel. It's very similar. And within the list, I can store, for example, any kind of information. In this example, it's employees information. So we can see all the employees information details like the name, the position, department, phone numbers, so on. And this list actually is integrated with our SQL database and Azure Active Directory. Why Azure Active Directory? Because if a user left the company, for example, we want to synchronize, keep the synchronization to keep the list updated and to remove this user who left the company. So also here we can have a flow that synchronize the employees information list to get the latest data and do the comparison, what is changed, and so on. So here we can see the employees information list, and this is a gallery view, which is very nice. This is introduced recently. We can see our items in a gallery, and it is a simple form. So you see, this is the SharePoint form actually whenever we add the columns. So maybe you want to customize this form and make it at your own. So we will see now an example on the leave application form embedded in SharePoint to show you how we can customize a form using Power Apps. So jumping to the form, the leave application form. So in this list, I can see the employees information, annual leave request. Since I'm the owner and the requester at the same time, that's why, for example, I can see this employee leave request. But of course, each user can see his or her own annual leave request. So starting by creating a new form, a new request. So it's loading, just a moment. Great. So this form is customized again on Power Apps and embedded directly within SharePoint. And within this form, we can see directly all the fields will get the information from the employees information list that I have showed you now recently. So everything will be populated here, and I will fill the form quickly. So actually, it will take less than a minute to fill a form and submit it for approval for the HR, for example, to take a decision based on his request. So let's say until 5. So we see the total days showing the difference between these two dates. And I see the current balance is coming from the list that I have showed you. And also, since the list is integrated with SQL, so the same number will be, of course, in our SQL table. So the leave type, I can apply for an annual. I can add some description. And finally, I can scrabble and add my signature. And actually, since, again, I'm the owner in the sake of this demo, I can see the direct manager approval and the employee details. Of course, the normal employee will not have the rights for this, will just simply fill the form and submit. And now whenever I submit the form, in the back end, something is happening, and an email will be sent for approval for the managers. Now, we will see how we can troubleshoot the flow, how we can tackle the progress to see how this flow is sending the approval. Now I will jump to the Power Automate portal. So in this portal, I can create several types of flow. It can be from template, it can be automated, it can be instant and scheduled desktop business process flows. We will focus actually today on the automated and the instant and the scheduled flow. But for the others, I would like to give you like a quick introduction about the business process flow. For example, if we have a form, it ensures, for example, the people that enter the data consistently and follow the steps every time they work, for example, with a customer or with any kind of form. So it provides a guide for the people to get the work done, and it provides a streamlined user experience. And actually, it is actually we use the business process flow and dynamics. So in our advanced webinars, we will see how we can manage the business process flow. For the desktop flow, this is also a brand new feature. It is very so it makes a lot of benefits. Actually, it brings robotic process automation. It's RPA capabilities to Power Automate. So we can use the desktop flow to automate repetitive tasks in Windows and web applications. So an example, if there is no connectors within Power Automate or no API that can be integrated with, for example, Power Automate, directly we can launch a desktop flow, record the data, and push it to the cloud. It's very huge. So actually, it records the plays back of the user interface, like the clicks, the keyboards, the inputs for the application that have easy to use or complete API available. Now, let's get back to the Leaf application form. So this is my flow. I want to troubleshoot this flow, so I can go to its run history. And in the run history, we can see that the flow has triggered 1 minute ago. And we see the status of my flow is running. So the flow can have one trigger, multiple actions. So I can see here multiple actions. And all of them are succeeded until here. So the orange icon, that means it's pending. What does it mean? It's waiting for an approval. So now if I head back to Outlook, you see I have received many emails. So we are sending reminders to the approvals to take decisions. So that's why I'm receiving these emails. Of course, we can decrease or increase the amount of the reminders. It can be, for example, hours based, days based, so on, minutes. So now I will go ahead, take my decision. So it will take me to Sharepoint list, since my data is stored now in Sharepoint. So I can provide directly a deep linking for the item. So we see now the form is loading. So I will click on edit. And of course, whenever I edit the form, I cannot change anything. All the fields will be disabled. Now, simply, I will go ahead and take my approval. So I will sign, take my decision. So you see I'm approving within Powerapps now. And also the next stage will be within Outlook. So we will see how also we can approve within the application itself, within Outlook, and even later on, we will see how we can approve within Microsoft Teams. Now I will enable the replacement. So actually this toggle, this flow, what will happen if a person needs a replacement during his vacation request? So I can assign who's the replacement person during my vacation request. And actually, this is connected to my Azure Active Directory, all of these users. So now I can submit the replacement. So I have assigned my colleague Basili. So whenever I submit the request, now Basir will get notification about the start and the end date based on what I have requested for. And we can see here that the direct manager has approved, and this is the status has been changed and it is signed. Now, we have many approvals, but to not waste the time, we will directly go to the HR approval stage. So it will be fully approved, and the value added that we will see after the HR takes approval, we'll see how we can do integration with Outlook to configure our automatic reply messages. So I will get back to Outlook. You see here, this is the approval form within Outlook. So it's a simple card showing the link of the item again, more details, and I can take my decision, either approve or reject. So just we're waiting until it loads. So it's optional to add comments. So let's say, so I can submit. Now my request will be fully approved. The final stage of this flow will send a push notification to the user that his request is fully approved. And then the next step is to configure the automatic reply messages. So you see this email is received automatically. So it's approved based on the days that I have requested for. And if I click here to configure my automatic reply messages, it will take me again to the Powerapps form. I will go ahead and configure my automatic reply messages. And also to show you inside Outlook, the automatic replies, it is now off, okay? So now we will see how it will be switched to on and how the dates will be changing and who's the replacement person. So let's get back to SharePoint. Let's edit. So now I will scroll down. We will see that I have automatic reply messages. So it was not visible whenever it was not fully approved. So now it is fully approved. So simply I can push this button by only pushing a button from the application for the employee. That means the requester who raised this leave request, automatically it will configure his automatic replies messages that he is outside the organization based on the dates that he requested for. And now if I open back the automatic replies, you see it's switched based on the dates that I have requested. And if you remember, I have assigned Basili as a replacement person. So that's how also this Powerapps application can be integrated with Outlook. We will see more advanced connectors. So that's about the leave request. Jumping to another topic, let's go to the document management library in SharePoint. So in SharePoint, we can have a document management system. Within the library, you can have subfolders, folders to store documents. It might be related to policy, to contracts, so on. So within this library, starting by, for example, creating a folder, I can assign permissions for the users based on the folder. So I can manage the access of this folder, let's say. So we see here who are the groups that have access to this folder. I can, since I'm the owner, I can decide who I can remove, who I can add. Maybe I want to share it with a, not a group, a person. So also I have the ability to do this. And I can create my own group. So if I have, for example, a group for the accounting, and this accounting will have this role to upload or to upload only, let's say, without deleting a file. So that's possible also. I can assign permission and assign the roles to a certain group. And even I can stop sharing. So if I don't want this group to visit this file, I can directly stop sharing. And I can share a link with external users to collaborate with the document and maybe upload some files. Maybe it can be some vendors, suppliers, so on. So that's about the permission. I can also automate the process of a document. So let's say I want to trigger a flow for a document approval. So I want approvals based on some departments, based on where this file is raised, to which it belongs. So also I can automate the process. It can be manually and it can be automatically. What I mean by manually, if I want to do changes after I upload the file, then I will decide when I kick off the flow. Whereas if I said that whenever a file is uploaded, automatically the flow will triggers and start the approval process. And that's what we will see now within the contract management library. I can also move, copy, if I want to move it to another site, I have the ability to do this. Maybe I want also to synchronize it on OneDrive. This is also possible. In the details, I can check the details of the file, its properties. So saying if I have a content type, so whenever I upload a file for a PO, it's related to a purchase order, I can have a certain content type where I can fill also on behalf of the file some additional metadata. So later on, if I want to look for a file, maybe the last year, I can make a group view and maybe to display the files based on this year and this month and so on. So let's start by uploading a file. Now in this library, actually, we are going to trigger a flow. It's like a state machine workflow. Like it provides a modeling style which with which we can model the workflow in an event-driven manner. So a state machine actually activity contains the states and transitions and the logic between between the flow. So now what will happen when we raise a document? It will go for the first department approval. After that, it will go to the legal approvals, and finally, the legals decides if it is approved or need more information. Then the flow will restart and maybe request more information from the requester. It can be missing signature, so on. So we will see that. But before also I upload the file, I will just jump to another user. Okay, this is a different logged in user. Okay, this is a different user. If I go to the same library, which is the contract management, to show you the difference. So let's say I have restricted permission for the user. So let's say this user belongs only to the accounting department. So you see the finance folder does not appear for this logged in user. This is a different user. So that's how I can restrict permissions. And you see that if you noticed, he cannot upload or add a new file, maybe in the root library. So maybe you want to have folders, but you don't want to add files in the root library. Also, we can restrict this. So now let's upload the file to see an example. So let's choose a file. Okay, let's choose this Excel sheet. Of course, any type of file can be uploaded. It can be AutoCAD files, Word, PowerPoint, links, videos, emails, so on. Anything can be stored within this library. But of course, there is some limitations when the document library is getting larger. So we can store in a library like 10 to 30 to 60K files, but the limitation per view, it's 5,000. So we can only store 5,000 within the, so you can store 20 or 30K, but I mentioned 5,000 because if I exceeded this number, or maybe after the 5,000, if I want to look for a file or filter a file based on its metadata, here the limitation it comes, and I will not be able maybe to find the file, or I will encounter many issues. Maybe if the file contains 30K file, I want to rename the folder, maybe I will not be able to do this. So we always actually recommend our customers and suggest them to create the libraries in a different sites and also different libraries. So so actually an example, don't put all your eggs in one basket, always separate them. So anyway, now this status of the file is pending department review. If I get back to Outlook, now we see I have received an approval. So this is the department approval, saying this is the department approval. I can say this is approved, looks good, and I will submit. Now, also the same approval, which is this one, can be sent to external users. So if I go to my Hotmail account, for example, So let's wait a little to receive this approval, the second approval. And also now within Teams recently, I can see in the activity feed, I will get a notification that I have received an approval. So I can either take my response from Outlook or from Microsoft Teams. Now my flow status is completed. So since I have already approved now from Outlook, now the next stage is the legal approval. And if we get back to the library, we see the file, which is this one that I have highlighted. We see it's pending the legal review. It was pending department. And we see the logs here of the approval. So we see who started the approval and the dates when it was started. Now, if I get back to Outlook, now I have received another approval. It's for the legal reviewer. Now you see here my Hotmail account. This is an external user, guys. Okay, so also the external user is allowed to take an approval since I'm giving him the rights to the permissions, and he's a guest user inside my Azure Active Directory. So if I clicked on approved, now I will just open it in a different browser to show you how this external user can approve document. So let's go to this link. Just a moment. Or let's take this example. This is a Yahoo account. This is a different, this is also an external user has received the same email. So instead of waiting, so we can directly go directly to the item and to take my approval. So this is a Yahoo account. Okay, so any external user, Hotmail, Gmail, so it can be shared with external users to take to interact with the approvals and take decisions. So let's say this is approved. Now I can request more information. Now if I requested more information, the flow will restart again, and based on the comments that I'm providing, the users will receive email saying, let's say a file missing a signature. So you can say I need more information and missing signature, for example. So let's take this example here. I will not fully approve to stop the process. I will show you how I can withdraw the file or restart the process. So if I get back, again, this is the external user, okay? So also I have the ability to edit the file, sorry, to view the file since, so you see here, it's me, but this is my Yahoo account. So I can collaborate with the file since I have permissions to the SharePoint site. So you see URL is starting with SharePoint. So this user have permission. I'm allowing external users to collaborate with the files. Now, if I get back to Outlook, we see that this user has requested more information. And here I can either resubmit it for review, which will restart the flow, or withdraw the file. So if I get back here, you see the status of my file now is changed to need more information. And we see need more information by legal reviewer, and this is the approval name. That was the approval name. Now, let's say I would like to withdraw. Let's say it's canceled. I will stop the process, stop the flow. So now the status will be changed to withdraw. And if I refresh the page and I scroll down, you see now the status has been changed. And to see all the details of the file, all the logs, so it's very important, I can go to the approval history and check withdraw by which user and what was the comments. I type it cancel, for example. So here I can see all the logs of the files. That's about the document management system within SharePoint. Not to forget to mention, of course, we have versioning in SharePoint, which is very beneficial for to restore any version. It was modified. I can view it. I can delete the version if I have the rights, of course, and also I can edit the version. So that's about the document management system. Now let's jump to advanced topics. Let's discuss about Power Apps in Teams. So we will see how we can embed Power Apps within Microsoft Teams. And starting by an example on a purchase order application. And this example, and the sake of this demo, and I'm going to show you how we can add signatures, automate the e-signatures, send notification within Microsoft Teams, and even exporting the file to PDF, store it maybe in a library or as an attachment within the item. So the back end of this app will be Sharepoint list, but we are reading some data from our SQL database to generate the reference number, for example, and so on. Now let's go to Teams. I will go to Teams. I have in the Teams a demo team. Under this team, I have the general channel. In this channel, I have many applications. And let's start by the purchase order. So this application, of course, this is a mobile view. You will see it now in a mobile view. But again, the Power Apps application can be on tablet, can be on mobile, and can be responsive on the web browser or on the tablet, wherever I'm using this application. And I will show you an example on the responsiveness of a Power Apps application. Now, you see this is the welcome screen where I can see the open, the pending, the approved reports. I can filter by date, sort, so on. I will go ahead, create a new request. So I'll provide a title, let's say PO, PO Power Platform. Yeah, I will fill the day, I will fill, so you see here the date and the reference number and the reference quotation number are automatically populated. This is based on today's date. This is coming from our SQL database, and same for this one. So you see this reference number is generated, and this number will be increased after each and every submission. Now I will choose the vendor. So we see the phone number, the location is automatically populated. This data is coming from a vendor list within our data source. And finally, I can attach the file. So I will go ahead and attach a file. Let's say this PDF file, and create this report, this request. Now under this request, I want to purchase some items. And then I want to raise it maybe for the finance or the accounting department to review this request and approve my request to order these items. Now, to request many line items, we will see inside the Power Apps application, and specifically inside this application, how we can leverage the AI builder. So using an AI receipt processor that will scan a receipt, populate the information, and directly we can submit the form. So let's go to add a new line item. So I can click here. So this is the form. I will scan a receipt. And before that, let me show you the example of a bill. So let's open this bill. I will get back to the app and open this bill. So this is an example of a bill. Okay, the company name, street, address, some details. I will just scan this bill within the application. Now the AI will detect and recognize all the data within this bill and populate them within the table and the columns. So you will see how this will work. And in just a few moments without entering any inputs. So as you can see, you see the company name here. The items that I want to purchase are displayed directly in this data table with the date of the bill and the unit price, which is the total price. Now I will fill all the information here and submit it for approval. Here I can put the quantity, so it's the quantity times the unit price. It will display the total amount. So I'm ready to submit. So I will save. Of course, I can add as much as I want line items. I don't have any limitations. And now the screen, this item has been successfully submitted. And I will be redirected to the details of the report. It will show the amount, which is based on the line items. And I can see in a large preview the bill that I have scanned. And now I'm ready to submit. So I will click on submit. Now in the back end, a flow will kick off and send the approval. Let's go ahead together to see how this flow is triggering and to troubleshoot this flow. So it is, okay, let me just go in another user. Okay, sorry. Okay. So now I will go ahead and troubleshoot the flow. The flow can be shared with users also, but since I'm not sharing with this user, I will show you where it does appear to show you how we can tackle the progress of the flow. So let's go to my flows. So just a moment. Okay, I will switch to a different environment. And we see here the PO approvals. So this is my flow. I want to check its run history. So if I click on run history of this flow, we can see this flow has triggered 1 minute ago. Now, if I open this flow, again, we see all of the actions are succeeded here to get the right information and send it to the approval. And now we see we see the status, it's pending. It's pending, it's waiting for the approvals. And now the approvals will be within Microsoft Teams. So I will head back to Teams. You see, I have received a notification here. I will go to the chat. We can see that this flow has sent a card and it provides me a link storing all the items within SharePoint. So that's why I can provide a link and take my approval decision. So let's say this is approval 1 has approved, for example. So I will now the next step is to it will be escalated to a different user to take also his approval decisions within Microsoft Teams. So I will go back to the users here. I will sign in, sorry, Microsoft. Sign in on Microsoft Teams on the web browser. So I will log in. So now I will take my approval from Teams to show you how we can how I can add my signature and how we can automate the signature between these two users. So until I signed in here, I will get back to the app and add my first signature from the first approval user. So here, guys, we can have many options to approve our items. So it can be within a push notification in Teams. It can be by adding maybe your signature. That means you approve the item also, or within Outlook. So I'm showing you the capabilities and the options of what we can do within Powerapps. So now I will add my signature. And we see now it's loading. So now it will be under the pending stage. So now I will go ahead and we see all the items details here. Add my signature. I will scrabble within this box, for example, and submit my signature. So the signature is validated. So whenever I scrabble, it will validate if this user has signed. When it's signed, it will directly update the status of the item. And if we get back to SharePoint to see, let me just filter by today's date data. So you will able to see the item that we created. So
Julian, the screen is freezing. There's an issue in. Can you reconnect, please? Because I guess there's a delay.
Yes, sure. Sure. Sorry. Okay, sorry for the delay. I'm just back. I will reshare my screen. Let me know, guys, please, if you can see my screen again.
Yeah, it's good.
Great. So yes, guys. So I was mentioning that I have already took my signature. So you see here the status. It's updated to pending, and we see this other status is based actually on the approvals within Microsoft Teams. So those are the two options that I have mentioned. Now I will get back to the other users and take my approval decision. This is a different user. This is Teams on the web browser, and I will say here that this is approval to commence. So when I submit, now I'm ready to take my signature. So I will go ahead, I will switch the environment, so it exists in different environment, and I will play the application on the web browser. Now, if I get back, okay, so now I will go ahead and add my signature here. So since now it's pending, because as now it is approved, sorry, because all the users have fully approved the request, finally I can submit my signature. Maybe this is the second option where if you notice that my signature has been automatically populated. So here again, what we are doing, if the user is signing for the first time, we are providing him the box to draw and sign, and we are storing his signature in our SQL database. Then after that, it will directly check the current user that is signed in, populate his signature, and finally submit the signature. So that's the approval process of this annual leave request. And if I get back to the approvals here, to my flow, we see now it's still waiting, it's still updating the data. So the final stage will be to send an email for the purchase officer manager, or maybe for the department, about all the report that was associated with the request that I have raised. And in just a moment, we will receive this report, and I have received it. So you see, guys, so all the report that we created, this is the request with the total amount, with the line items that I want to purchase under this request, and the approval responses. So we are also parsing the approval responses and sending them. In one glance, I can see all the item details. Now, the final stage is to export to PDF, maybe by a single file, or I can export to PDF based on some filters. If I want to filter, for example, based on employee name, the status, the date, the amount of the purchase order request. So I have the ability, since now it's fully approved. So that was our request. So I have the ability to export to PDF. Now, when I click on this button, when I push this button, directly Flow will collect all of this data with the signatures of the managers and store it as an attachment under the request. That means under this particular request, which is purchase order for the Power Platform, for example. So let's get back to SharePoint. We see everything is approved. If I open this item, we see I have two attachments. If you remember, I have attached a file whenever I created this request, and that's the second file added by the Flow, showing me all the same report that is sent to Outlook. It's on the PDF also. We see the logo of the organization when it was exported, all the details, the signatures even of the managers that signed this report. So with one click, I can export it to PDF and print it out. So that's about the purchase order request, but also to show you the ability that I have mentioned, we can filter by some data. So we can see this is the total purchase amount of all the requests. So I can filter, for example, by a certain vendor. Now, of course, this gallery will be updated based on this vendor. It will just take a moment. And yes, and now we see all the vendor related to what I have filtered on. Of course, we can have dates, again, employee name, status, so on, amount, and we see the amount is updated. And finally, when I export to PDF, in this case, So we see different scenarios. Here we added the file as an attachment, but maybe you want to add the file in a document library in SharePoint. So this is the second option. If I get back to documents, we see this is the purchase order PDF file. It's highlighted. It's modified a few seconds ago. And if I open this file and I scroll down, we see this is the request that we created together. We see all the request under this vendor that we filtered on and the request that we created. So that's about the purchase order request. Now let's jump to another example. Let's say that maybe the IT want to make some request, for example, for a desktop, for a laptop, a monitor, keyboard, so on. So, and let's say all the requests must be approved maybe by the IT manager before, for example, they do the order. So now we will see this example on Powerapps. This is the list. It's very simple. I will go to the application, and it's inside, and it's here. So this is an example of an IT equipment request application. You see here, this is a progress approval indicator. So that means I can know, so let's say I am the requester, which is this user, okay, and the next approval will be my manager, and the next approval will be, for example, the IT manager. So I can tackle the progress and see whenever I get back to the item, what is the stage or what is the status of my request. So simply, I have a drop-down saying I want to order a desktop, for example. Let's say I really need this. So now when I submit, you see this is the check icon that this request has been submitted. And now actually here we are using the flow within the Powerapps application itself. So now it will send an email to the manager. We see now it's highlighted. So it's waiting for my approval. And now in just a moment, I will receive this email. So just waiting a little. Okay, so I have received this email. IT equipment request and the approval is required. So now I will go ahead and approve within the application for this record. So I will open this application. Let's click here. So now I will take my approval from my current logged in account. So now it's loading. Okay, just a moment. Okay, again. Sorry. Okay, so we see that this is the request that this requester has raised. It has been raised here. So now I will go ahead and take my approval decision. So let's say it's approved. So you see now how this progress bar component is updating, and now it's escalated to another manager. Again, we see here the status is changed to approved by manager, and it's waiting for the final decision. So it will be the final approval. So I will be the final approval, but just to give you the idea that also we can have like a progress component. It can be for a file, for the approvals, to tackle the progress within the application. So maybe I want to reject. So finally we see it's rejected by the IT manager, and this is updated, and we see this cancel icon appeared here. So this is a very simple example on this application of what we can do. Now let's jump to another example. I have mentioned that how the app can be responsive, the Powerapps application. So I have an application. Just let me open this app. Okay. This is an example. Just I will show you the responsiveness of the Powerapps application. So now what I will do, so we see it fit the height and the width of the Microsoft Teams screen. Now, if I shrink the screen, as long as I shrink, you see how it's getting shrinked. So now you will see how it will be wrapped. So you see, this is the gallery. This is my form. As long as I change, so this is how the app can be responsive. So as long as I again increase, so it will be directly, it will fit the height and the width. And the same app, if I launch it on the browser, it will fit the height and the width. And I can show you this. So let me just
for the sake of time, can we pass to the virtual agent just to show them the latest technology on Teams?
Sure.
Because we still have 15 minutes.
Okay, sure. So this is also how it is responsive on the web browser. Now, jumping to another topic, which will be the Power Virtual Agent and the Microsoft Dataverse. So I will go ahead to show you an example on a help desk application. It's created on Dataverse for Teams, where the user will go ahead, escalate a ticket, and this ticket will be sent for approval. And we will see also how I can communicate with a Power Virtual Agent to know the status of my ticket, to check my ticket status, and so on. And in the later webinar, so in the future, we are preparing an example on a help desk application that is fully integrated with Dynamics for the customer service. So to be able the customers to check for their current tickets within our system. Now, I will go ahead and create a new ticket. This app is embedded again in Teams. So I will go ahead and open a new ticket. Now I'll provide the name, for example, issue, for example, with PVA. Description goes here. So this is only an example. Let's say the due date is tomorrow, priority it's high, the category. So here I'm choosing the category because we are sending approvals based on the category that is selected. So let's submit this request quickly. Now, what will happen? I will receive an approval. But before that, let's jump to the Power Virtual Agent to see how I can know my status of my
ticket that I have question. This form you are submitting, am I able to read data from my, let's say I have a system, I have Dynamics CRM, or I have an ERP system or SAP or whatever. Am I able to read information from my systems, populate them here? And whenever also I create a new ticket or any form, the ticket is an example here, any form that I create in Teams and I submit it, will I be able also to save directly in my CRM and in my ERP system?
Yes, of course. This is possible, Christophe, since Microsoft Dataverse allow us to, it is integrated with Power Automate. So we have the ability to read data from any kind of data source, like Dynamics, as you mentioned as an example. And directly we can populate and store or perform any CRUD operation to this data. So it's the same as the Powerapps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent, not in Microsoft Dataverse. It's the same idea. So there is no limitation to not read or populate data within the form. So let's jump to the chatbot. So I will go ahead now. This is the Power Virtual Agent within Teams. So as I mentioned, this is under the Microsoft Dataverse when I was introducing Microsoft Dataverse. So now I will go ahead and communicate with this chatbot to see what is the status of my request. So in just a moment, it's loading. Okay, I will go also from here. Maybe it will be more faster. Okay, so this is the Helpdesk Chatbot. Okay, but I would like to show you also the back end of this chatbot until this is loaded. So let's say I want to know my ticket status that I have raised. And if you remember, it was, I think, 1004. So let's say hello. I will start a communication with this Power Virtual Agent. So he replies to me, hello, the current user signed in. He's saying that he can help me to check the status of my tickets. So with what he can help me? Well, I want to know my ticket status, or let's say what is my ticket status. Now, I have sent to the chatbot, what is my ticket status? So I want to know, he replied to me, what's your ticket number? So I can say, look what is going to happen now. 1004. Now I didn't type a number. I type a natural language. So if I say 1004, the chatbot is smart enough to understand this is a number, and he will get back to me that this is my ticket number, which is 1004, and my ticket status is pending since no one has approved my ticket. Now let's get back to okay, actually I didn't receive this email. It might take some time. I will go ahead, approve this ticket, and to show you, or let's take another example of a ticket that's already approved. So I will head back to the Helpdesk application, just to take the ID of, let's say 1002. So this is approved. You see this green icon. It is approved. Let's see this. Let's ask this chatbot about this particular ticket status. Okay, I can say thanks. So I will end the conversation with the chatbot. So I can say, hey again. Let's say, what is my ticket status? So I can say 1000. It was 2, I think. So you see now, this is the ticket number, and it is approved. So that's how the chatbot will empower the customer and will help the customer to directly communicate with this agent, and it will return whatever is the data for him based on any kind of connector. Now, another example on Microsoft List. And also before that, since we are on Teams, I would like to show you how the adaptive cards are working, how we can, for example, on a to-do, for example, we will see whenever I send a message, maybe I want to trigger a flow because this is a task, or maybe this is something to do tomorrow. So directly I can run this flow, and it will directly store this task inside my to-do in Office 65. So let's say, show me your Power Platform Services plans. So now I have sent a message in a team inside a channel. I want to trigger a flow based on that. So now, recently, Microsoft introduced that I have the ability to take action and to launch a flow based on the selected message. So let's take the example on to do with Teams. So I can type the subject. I can select the due date. Let's say it's tomorrow. Start date, it's today. The importance, it can be high, low. Category, let's say it's red and yellow. And let's say I want a reminder for my to-do. So this is the adaptive card form. So you see this pop-up is an adaptive card form that we discussed and we introduced, that it's an open card, again, exchange format that contains that will allow the user to input any form from within Teams. It can be a form for inputs, it can be for images, for videos, it can be for approvals, so on. So now I will say I want a reminder, let's say tomorrow, and let's choose the time at this time, and I will submit. Now what will happen? In the back end, again, a flow will kick off, and I will go to my to-do list and refresh this page. And now it's taking a little, and we see that the Power Platform Services plan has been created, and the due date is tomorrow, and these are the categories that I have picked. So you see, from a simple form, from a simple adaptive card, I have filled the form and directly stored in my to-do inside the task, this particular task. So we can see all the details here. So that's how the adaptive cards can be integrated with any kind of application, Office 65. You may want to fill a form, store in your current ERP system. That's also possible. Now, the next example will be on a travel request. So I will go ahead, raise a travel request, and we will see how we are going to send the approvals using Microsoft List. And actually, we will see many more examples in our late webinars and more advanced way about the Microsoft List, how they can be customized within the list. So now I will go ahead, fill a form. Let's say trip to UAE, reason of travel. It can be visiting Dubai, for example. I will fill the form quickly. Location Abu Dhabi, let's say. I will fill the start date and the end date, for example. The airline, let's say it's Emirates. So the cost of the ticket, let's say this number, the hotel, let's say for season. So I will fill this data. This is the Microsoft List. So I will put the number, for example, here, and we will keep it as a new. And also I have the ability to attach a file. Now, whenever I submit this request, it will be new. Now it will jump to pending whenever the flow will kick off. So now the flow will send approvals for maybe it can be a group for the travel requesters to take decisions based on this request. So now let's go ahead and see also the back end of this particular flow. So here we have the travel request flow. So I can go ahead and troubleshoot this flow. We see it didn't trigger yet. So we will just wait a moment, and now it is triggered. So you see my status of my flow is running, and now I have received an approval inside the activity. I can go ahead and take my approval decision. Now I can take it directly from Teams, or I can get back to Outlook, and we can see here, this is the trip with the link of the item in Microsoft List, of course. And I can either take my response, approve or reject. And if I didn't approve, of course, I will receive a reminder. So the reminder will receive the approval, sorry, will receive a reminder to take their decisions. So now let's say it's approved, enjoy. And I will submit. So now my request, it is fully approved. If I get back to the list, and Microsoft List, now it's still under pending until the flow update the status of this item. It will be finally approved. Now, to jump to another topic, we will see how we can also benefit from the AI builder. For example, maybe you want to set a rule for some emails. If someone say something, it's good or bad, maybe you want to do sentiment analysis and send you as an email within Outlook, or maybe get you notified or store it in your data, whatever. So we will see how this AI is smart. So I will send to myself an email and say it's awesome service. A really perfect service. Now I will send this email. Now what will happen? I have a folder here. I have a folder, sentiment analysis, showing that I have sent an email to myself. Now the flow, whenever an email is received to this folder, now directly the flow will trigger, and we are benefiting, we are using, sorry, the AI sentiment analysis to see in the subject if it is positive, if this message is positive or negative. So we see here it is positive. This is returned from the flow. So if I get back to the flow to show you the back end of this flow, it is here. I can go to the run history. Now we see the status, it runs successfully. And here we can see, of course, I can troubleshoot the flow. It's represented the data in a JSON format. So for the IT technicals, this is how they can troubleshoot the flow. So we can see the sentiment returned is positive. And I'm sending this sentiment as a subject in the email for the user. So this is how I can also analyze if it is positive, negative, or neutral text received from a customer. Now, jumping to another topic that will be within Microsoft Teams. I will get back here to the Microsoft Dataverse. So this is the Microsoft Dataverse. Again, all the application will be under a certain team. It can, and this, for example, I have a team called Project Oakdale, but actually it's Microsoft Dataverse. So within this team, I have these applications. I have a flow, for example. I have a chatbot. I have a table where I'm storing my data using the common data service. The Helpdesk Canvas application that we have seen earlier, how we can submit a request. This is under this team. And also I can assign permissions. So the security model of the Microsoft Dataverse, it respects the same security for the team channel. So what I mean by this, so if I get back to Teams and Microsoft Dataverse, and I go to manage the team, we see here I am the owner. I don't have any members or guests. So if I am the owner, I have the rights to do any modifications for any application that is created under this team, which is Microsoft Dataverse. Now the members and the guests, of course, I can assign a certain role for them, and we will see that how we can do this. It was, sorry, here. So I have the ability to manage permissions. So when I manage the permissions, since I am, okay, now by default, the members have full access, but maybe I want them only to collaborate. That means to only create and read records, or a private, or to only create. Maybe this one I want to assign it for the guest users, only to create records without reading or updating or deleting any records. So from here I can manage the permission. It's very nice, and also I can share with colleagues. So I can share, for example, to a certain group, this application, which is the help desk, with a certain group in my Azure Active Directory. It can be for the finance, for example, for the IT, so on. So this is how we can benefit from the Microsoft Dataverse using Microsoft Teams license and build any kind of form or any application using Power Virtual Agent, Power Automate, Power BI, and Powerapps. So that's about Microsoft Dataverse. Now, finally, we will see how we can store data within Azure Blob Storage and SQL in a SQL table. So we have an example of a form. Let's go to this form. It is this one. I will fill this form from an external user. That will be also better. So I will authenticate. This is an external user. This is my Yahoo account. Now what we are going to do in this application, I will go ahead, upload some files and images, and we will see how in Azure Blob Storage we will store the files and how we will store the record information within the SQL database. So I will create a record saying that, let's say this example, for example, 123, 123. Now I will put my email address here to receive an email whenever this form is submitted, maybe. I will add my signature and attach a file. I will go ahead, attach maybe this image. I will add multiple attachments and attach an Excel file, maybe. Let's take this example. And I will submit. Now what will happen? Whenever the file is attached, it is automatically uploaded inside Azure Blob Storage. So if I get back to, I will go, sorry, to Azure, to a storage account that has a blob containers. So I'm saving files from Powerapps. That's the name of my container. And within this container, what we will see, the files that I have already uploaded. So, so now, okay, sorry for this. Let me just get back. So I will go directly to the container. So it's loading my data. Okay, I have some internet issues. It's not showing the data. Anyway, the files will be stored here. If I get back to the app to see the files, I can go to the record, and we see here the image and the Excel sheet that I have attached while filling the form. And if I go to this link, it will take me, if you see here, to my Azure Blob storage. So it's stored there. So this is the link of the image. Directly, it will open from the application. And this is the Excel sheet. Now, if I get back to my SQL database, as I mentioned, we are storing this data in our SQL database. So this is an example of a table. So whenever I fill the form, if you see here, all the records information is stored in my database. Now we see here the status is null and the logs is null. For this form also, we have an approval where I can go ahead and also see the signature attached in the approval. So that's the signature that we added from the form, and also take my approval decision. Now this is an internal user. Also the same email will be received for external users since I'm filling the form from this user. So if I get back to the Yahoo account and I see the Microsoft Flow here, I have received this email, so I can also take my decision from external user and even from the internal user. So now I will go ahead and take my approval decision. And finally, now let's say this is approved. Now what will happen when I submit? Automatically the same record inside this database, if I refresh, but we have to just wait a moment, you see the status now is changed to approved, and the logs, so the logs, that means the comments, also approved. So that's how we can also do integration with SQL and Azure Blob Storage. And last but not least, imagine if you have a .NET web page where you want to fill some information. Maybe it can be for booking, it can be any kind of a .NET web page, and you want to integrate this web page with a flow to store your information, maybe in your SharePoint list, or maybe push it to the cloud. So also, let's take this example. If I'm filling the form, I will fill this form. I will go ahead and upload the image. I will choose any image and submit the request. Now I will get back to my SharePoint list. I have a list, it's called .NET. If I click on this list, we see a new record has been created, and this is the form that I have filled within the .NET. So the flow has automatically communicate with its API and add all the details with the attachment, which is this image, for example. So this is how also we can integrate with any third-party application. Finally, another example on an application, which is like, it's a Powerapps editable grid. Like in this example, what we are going to see, a very simple Powerapps application where you can enter your data like Excel and save your data manually on the, automatically, sorry, will be saved on the cloud whenever I save, or based on a timer. So this is a very quick example. If I click on add, it will add for me a new row. And whenever I click on edit grid, we see the timer here, it starts. This timer, when it finishes, it will store the data. So to keep the data always synchronized. And if I click on view, the timer will reset and stop. Now I will click on edit. I will say here, learn PVA, Power Virtual Agent. Now you see this is a pending change needs to be saved. So because I didn't save this record. So now I will not save, actually. The flow, the timer will save the data for me. And you see, without pressing any button, this record has been saved inside my database. Now the backend of this is actually a common data service table. So let me just show you quickly where does this table. Okay, so this is the table. This is inside my common data service. It's very similar to SQL, where I can store, it provides us rich data types. I can create my columns. and store my data within directly this table inside Microsoft, inside Common Data Service. Now we see the data here. We see learn PVA. This is the record that I have added recently from the application, and so on and so forth. I can view the grid, stop the timer, only check the records. I can edit, the timer will start. I can save without the need of the timer. Maybe this will be, of course, will not be visible for the users, but just to show you the idea of what we can do. Finally, recently Microsoft has introduced that we are able to open Powerapps applications within the side panel in any meeting. So now I have a Powerapps application. It will be displayed. This is a new chat meeting experience, okay, where I can open the app directly on the chat here. So if you can see my screen, also the joiners. So let's say if they want to check this application or collaborate with this application, here it will require some permissions, some licenses to be able to collaborate this app. Or if they try to open it, they will not be able since it's not shared with them. So this is an example of a very simple application where I can go ahead and add maybe a task for a certain meeting. So for example, for this meeting, I will go ahead and build an expense report application on Powerapps. I can add a task. Now you see the task here. I can delete the task, of course. I can add more tasks. And if I get back to Planner, I refresh the page. So here, the back end of this particular app is Planner, where I'm going ahead and storing the task that will be added under the meeting. So just I'm refreshing the page to show you. Okay, so as you see, this is the meeting title, and it's showing building an expense report application on Powerapps, and so on and so forth. If I go ahead, pick another meeting, for example, building a PVA, Power Virtual Agent, add the task. Again, we will go ahead, refresh the page, and see the data. So that's it, guys. I hope it was very informative for you. And we delivered what are the capabilities of using the Power Platform, so how it will make your business more efficient and time-consuming to avoid repetitive tasks. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, so I'm happy to answer your questions. And thank you.
Julia, one last thing for the questions. There is also a question populated here. If you can explain quickly
Yes.
the licenses, what is free and what needs license, and when do you need licenses, and the types of licenses.
Great. Okay. So regarding the Power Platform licenses, let's talk about the free phase. If I'm building applications that extend Office 65, like Planner, To Do, SharePoint, and so on, so if I'm using SharePoint as a data source inside my application, it will not require any additional cost or any additional license, because since I have Business Basic as a licenses, Microsoft Business Basics and above, I can benefit from using Power Automate and Powerapps, of course, using SharePoint as a data source or Planner or To Do. Whereas if I'm using inside my application any I want to, for example, to integrate with a third-party application or to my current system, like SQL, like Oracle, even Dynamics. In this case, in this phase, I need a Powerapps, a premium license. Of course, there are plans either per app, per user plan, or per user plan. So this is regarding the licenses in Powerapps. That's how they will work. Again, since we are using SharePoint, no additional cost will be charged, or any additional license that we should purchase in order to use the application. Yes, I hope, Hamad, it's clear regarding the Power Platform licenses. Please, if you have any other questions regarding the webinar, please feel free to ask.
there is a one question. If a complex integration with the Dynamics
Sorry, Muhammad, I cannot hear you well. Your voice is far a little.
yeah, what I mean, I wanted to. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's better.
Yeah, fine. My question is,
Mhm.
if a complex integration between the multiple solution with the Dynamics, so
Mhm.
will it work this with Power Apps, or we need to make it a web services or API to integrate the multiple application with the Dynamics?
No, since it is Dynamics, so we have a connector provided by Microsoft that we can integrate with the Power Apps application itself, or if you want, if you want to automate the business process using Power Automate, also we are able to do to extend and use the Dynamics connector. So since it's provided by Microsoft, we can use it, but it's under it's a premium license. It's not the free license.
Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad. Or any kind of third-party data source, not even Dynamics. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Uh, can Is there any other questions you'd like to ask?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining.
Welcome.